Okay, this is number 2 in our webinar series on CRM, all things wonderful, wise and wacky. And we have back again this week our awesome threesome. We have Alicia, and we have Dante, and we have David. So this is the intermediate session. Last week we went through some very interesting stuff on getting started, the basics, getting started, why you need a CRM, and kind of what you can use it for, and some of the steps you need to take in terms of setting up and dealing with that. You know, what CRM do I need? Is it for my industry? How big do I need to go? What sort of costs? That sort of stuff. So this week, we're going to step it up. Okay, you've got your CRM. Let's rock it, you three. Alicia, if you could step off with the intermediate on, now that you've got your shiny new CRM, what do we do now? How do we make this thing sing and add some value to our business?
Thank you so much, Kelby. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Yep, you're good.
Awesome. Yes, so you got your CRM, well, that's obviously the basics that we discussed last week. Normally, some of the first steps is that you actually start entering some of your contacts into the CRM. We briefly discussed things like tags, where you can actually identify a person as a lead or a customer, and you can even with tags also tell people or show to yourself and your team what products or services that particular person has bought. So I have no idea what my colleagues have up their sleeves for today. For me personally, once you have everyone into the CRM, I personally would like to see where my people are at, and why are we using a CRM? Well, hopefully it's to make more money in your business. So personally for me, my next step is to really look at my sales funnel and to be able to see, how can I actually make more money from the people that I already have in my database. Would I be able to share my screen, Kelby?
Yes. Oops, hang on.
Let's have a quick look. It's currently still disabled.
Now, we had that ticked off last week. Why did it not carry over?
So really, so I'll continue to chat while Kelby is...
You keep talking and I'll figure that out.
Let's have a quick look.
There we go. It's out there somewhere. All right. You're good to go, Alicia. Sorry about that, guys.
Thanks so much. So to explain a sales funnel in a very simple way in a Trello board, this is what I wanted to show you. So pretty much in a sales funnel, we start off with new leads. We start off possibly, this is in a service-based business, coaches, consultants, anyone that where a meeting is needed. From once you have a new lead, you would set up a meeting. You would actually record the details of the meeting being held. From there, you normally send out a quote or a proposal. Thereafter, you have a bit of a follow-up, and then thereafter, you have a lost or won. So that was just in my Trello board. So when we actually want to set this up in our CRM, I briefly showed this last week. But for instance, this is essentially the CRM. Inside of that, the sales funnel. So the question then is, how do I set this up from scratch? The good thing I like about Capsule CRM, because that's the one that I am championing, the champion for, is where you can go to opportunities, and here you can actually add your milestones. So just like I've shown you in the Trello board, if you map out the steps in your sales funnel, you can actually come in here and you can add them as different milestones, where you say new would, for instance, be your potential customer making contact for the first time. Qualified is when you have obviously had maybe a short conversation with them before the big meeting to just ask a few qualifying questions to ensure that they are the right type of customer. From there, you normally have a meeting, which could be online or in person. You send out your proposal or quote. You possibly negotiate the price. I'm not sure if that is one of the steps in your sales process. And from there, well, hopefully you win more than you lose. And like I've shown you in the Trello board, you can then, you know, move the person over either as a lost or a won. So I just quickly took some screenshots to actually make this easier. So what will the sales pipeline look like in the Capsule CRM once you've set everything up? Essentially, here is your lead where you started, you qualified, meeting, proposal, and a verbal agreement. So when you are using Capsule, what you can actually see is in each stage how much potential money is lying into each stage. And you can also, if you click on any one of these, you will actually be able to open up the company and see who the contacts are and what they are doing. So that in the sales funnel, thank you, is a board view, which works very similar to Trello, where you simply drag and drop cards from the one to the other. It also has a list view, so that's exactly the same thing that you see again, but this time it's all in list view with your different milestones, the value of each, who's the owner of this client, if you actually have a team of people working with you, the close date, when they were actually closed, and any related tags. And then last but not least, this is where I'm going to leave you for today. When it comes to sales funnels, is you also have your dashboard. So if you clicked a different button there at the top, you will actually get to you know, pretty much your pipeline forecast, where you can see what happened already, what's coming up in the last, well, in the coming months, and then also in terms of percentages of opportunities won. So what happened in the last 30 days, the 90 days, or the last year, actually. So that's very short, just like I said, just your sales funnel overview for today. I don't know what my colleagues are going to talk about, but for me, that would be my next step, is to put my people into the correct phases of my sales process, where they are at, and from there then to actually actively start following up to close more business. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alicia. Now, just a little bit of housekeeping before we jump into our next speaker. For anybody who wasn't here last week, if you've got questions, feel free to throw them into the Q&A or the chat. We'll deal with them at the end, and we'll just roll through with whoever's best suited to answer them. Okay, so, well, do we want to go horizontally or vertically? What are we going to do today? We'll go with Dave. We'll take the horizontal approach to start with. David, if you could just run through the intermediate stage for Keep, and just let people know that they've got this shiny new Keep. They've gone through the joy of installing and getting set up. Where do we go to now? How can we maximise this beautiful new toy?
Well, I'll probably start very similar to the way Alicia started there, and that's to get some contacts into the system. Like, a lot of people get trapped into trying to build very complicated things up front, and you really sort of, you really don't want to do that. I don't think you want to waste a lot of time on building out something with, you know, 30 steps or a pipeline, like a sales funnel with a whole lot of stuff. You actually don't need to do that, because when you start, it's basically, you probably only need the first 3 steps or something in a 10-step process. So don't get trapped into actually have in mind where you want to go, but don't think you have to build everything out at the start. I think a lot of people get trapped on that. And the other thing that people get trapped on is they think they need to put all of their contacts into the system. And I would say, again, don't do that. If you've got some hot prospects or some really, you know, people who are very close to be converted, or people who have just become customers, they're probably the ones you should put in your system. Like, don't put thousands of cold leads into your system, and for God's sake, don't go and buy a list and put that into your system. That, you know, really concentrate on small numbers that are most likely to get a big return. So that's probably the starting point. And then if I can share my screen, I might just show you a couple of little things here, if I can get the right. Probably should have turned off the whole lot of other screens first, shouldn't I, before I came on here? That's a bit silly. I'll try this one, and then hopefully I'll be able to move the screen across. So, Keep is like Capsule and like Hubspot that we're going to be talking about today. They have all these things that you can do inside your system, whether it's a sales and marketing activity you want or some sort of contact engagement type activity. They're probably all a little bit similar on that, but I wanted to just show you, I think it's this one here, if it can let me go. One of the things that I find really important in the system is actually managing individual contacts. So when a contact comes into the system, and you can enter them in Keep, and I'm sure it's in the other systems as well, you can enter them with an individual form. I'll show you that in a minute. But if you look at anyone in particular in the system, there's a whole lot of information that you can store about them. Anything that they've done, any tasks and appointments that they've been on, any campaigns that they've been in. For instance, if you're doing outbound marketing, it'll show you all the things that person has done, what ads got applied, what link they clicked, and all that sort of stuff. And I find this is really, really useful. I actually did it today because someone rang me while I was out and about, and I just clicked on that person's record on my phone app, and I called up what they might have been calling me about, because I wasn't exactly sure where they'd come from, and I noticed that they just clicked on one of the email campaigns that went out this morning. That's why he rang me, and I'm thinking, okay, so he clicked on the link, he did that, and while he was talking to me, I'm trying to work out why he's asking me those questions, and it ended up being quite a good conversation, because I sort of know where he'd been, what he'd been doing, and why he was talking to me without him having to tell me, right? So you don't want to be creepy about that. You don't want to say, "Oh, so you clicked on that link or whatever," because that wouldn't be cool. But you know that they did that. So there's some things that you can work out about the conversation. So I use this part all the time. The fact that you can find out exactly what that person's done, what tasks they've had, if they've had appointments, which emails they've looked at, whether they clicked or opened them, what orders they've potentially had. There's only got some test orders in here, but if they had actually bought some products, you could actually call that up on the fly. So anyone in your team could access this person's records and see what's happening. If they called in and were making a complaint, you could actually go in and you could see what order they might have bought, see what they bought, see what they're saying about the order, and you'd be very informed about the whole conversation rather than guessing or having to go look somewhere else. And that's one of the key things that I find the businesses that I work with use their CRM for. I'm an engineer by profession, so we used to call it a database of record, and it's the one place you can go to that's got all the information that you might need. And if you set your CRM up properly, that's a really key thing, because if you don't want to go look, if someone's on the phone to you, you don't want to have to go looking in the ordering system and then the delivery system and then, did they pay? You got to go look in Xero or whatever. If it's all in one place, you can tell exactly what's happened, and you can probably solve it very quickly on the phone. So the customer gets a good experience, your staff or you, if it's you who is doing it, know exactly what's happened. You know where they've been on the journey, and that's a really, really powerful tool for your business. So I think that's one key thing that a CRM does differently to potentially an email marketing system or something that just looks at one aspect of your business, maybe a delivery processing system or an operations process that only just does a snapshot of what that person's been through. The CRM should be set up to capture as much information that's useful about that person and how they've interacted with your business, because that's your point of difference. That's your competitive advantage. You can Google someone and find out a lot about them, but this data's in your system, right? This is your data. This is about your business. And if you know that person bought, product A 3 weeks ago, and you're talking to them and they're happy about product A and they just asked a question about it, maybe you can sell on product B while they're on the phone, right? Rather than letting it all go. So yeah, it's just, it gives you the opportunity to do things on the fly because the data's already there. So one of the things, like, you know, all these systems do that. You can import data from lists, for instance. You know, this one allows you to import from Aweber and a few other systems, but I just import spreadsheets basically. And the spreadsheet, you can put in as much information as you can about the person. I always say when people are importing contacts into their system, do a small bunch at a time and do segments at a time. So if you're bringing in some people who've been to a trade show, for instance, or attended an event or some specific thing, do them all at the same time, tag them all the same way. If there's some sort of automation that you want to create on the back of that, then do that right there and then, and put them into the automation. So, so that's just a couple of things about importing. One of the things that Infusionsoft or Keep does have is a pretty good automation tool for communication. And this is actually live on my system, so hopefully nothing crashes here while we're going. But one of the things I like about Keep is the ability to have a visual look at what's going on, so you can see, you know, where, like if I went to reporting here and clicked on current, that would tell me where people are. So I know that there's people here. I know 5 people clicked on that email that went out this morning, and I can see what's going to happen next. They're you know, two weeks in the next before the next activity happens. So I've got some of these that have got like 50 steps in them, but I don't like that because it's too complicated. But it just allows you to see visually what's going on, who's done what. I can see some people have opted out. Basically, I could go and have a look and see who those people are and go, were they important, those people? Probably shouldn't be showing you this, but anyway, I can click on that person and I can see what they opted out for, and if they've made a complaint or done something, you know, or said something about what happened in the process, I can actually see what's going on. You can set up dashboards in the system, so you can see, you know, who's doing what, who clicked on what links, where they're from. So it just gives you a really good snapshot of your business. You can put all the information you want in here. I've only got a few of my LinkedIn connections in there because I stopped doing that because LinkedIn sort of doesn't like you stealing people off LinkedIn and putting it in your email database. So don't do that. If you're back 2 years ago when I put these people in, it was fine. Yeah, you can build any sort of snapshot of your business, and then you can see what people have done on a real live basis. So I think that's the most important part. And next week when we talk about I guess the higher level or the last part of it, I'm going to talk about orders and how to manage orders and what you can do with that, and some of that marketing automation stuff that's a bit simpler than just you know, a form and a follow-up contact. You can actually build quite detailed sequences with people going in different directions and jumping out of one campaign into another depending on what they click. So, but that's
cool.
next week's topic.
Cool. All right, David, thank you very much. So really, you're talking about setting your CRM up as sort of the one ring to rule them all, where you, instead of having, you know, you've got multiple systems that deal with your business, that deal with certain information flows and certain product flows, but you've got one system that talks to all of them and gives you the information you need in one nice little spot.
Yes, yes.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. And the last cab off the rank is Dante, talking HubSpot. Mate, intermediate HubSpot, where are we at? What do we do? How does it roll?
Yeah, so definitely with HubSpot, it probably is at that point where it's being one of the simpler customer relationship management systems. It doesn't quite go to the level of depth or reporting depth that Keep does. Keep is pretty much gold standard for reporting, to being able to have business intelligence about what's going on in business. It is really the gold standard. Yes, it's a little bit less simple in its interface than what, say, for instance, other other systems would be, like our Capsule, for instance. One of its great benefits is that it's such a simple interface that it's not confusing. It's not going to confuse you with its complexity of what this interface is like. So HubSpot then tries to contact on the additional things that it adds onto it. So if we take a deeper look at some of the more, I guess, more oriented things towards a small business, would be sales and customer service. So following up on things that may have gone wrong, or sales have been made, or bringing people into that sales funnel, we start to look at those basic things I took a look at last week, those setting up your dashboard. But probably the two things that are probably going to be the first things you'll start to address within HubSpot is the ability to be able to integrate your email in. And this is where all of these systems are so important, because they all integrate with things like Gmail and through Outlook. So allow you to bring your email in. So you've got one place that if you were to lose something in your email, and let's face it, Outlook is a mess when it comes to searching for things. Gmail is just a mess of an interface, because it just gets so complex and so convoluted to look for things, that you have one place where you can very easily search for things. And it does this magic thing, and so do all these different tools, that they connect a contact that's within your CRM with an email address. And that email address then shows you the ability to be able to do some pretty magical things. And those magical things include doing your email from within the system. So instead of doing it from within Gmail or doing it from within Outlook, you can do it within HubSpot, all these other systems as well. But in this case, this particular screenshot is showing you how you can then integrate HubSpot into your email. So both the online version of Outlook and Gmail are able to have a plugin to those that allow you to not just communicate on regular email, but have a panel on the side which shows you, as you're in your email, what your record of contact with that particular person is. So if you do love Outlook, and if you do love Gmail, and you prefer to work in those, excuse me, stupid winter, it's that ability for you to be able to then work with everything. I'm not used to winter. I'm currently down south. I'm on the Gold Coast at the moment, so this whole thing of getting used to temperate climates and their frigid conditions. So with the operations within the email systems themselves, you're able to then integrate from here into HubSpot. So you're operating within Gmail or operating with Outlook, and it's got a panel on the side which at a glance gives you what your timeline of contact has been with them, what the deals are. So a deal is just a way of saying, a particular sales or a product that you're working on with them, or a project you're working on with them. And you can even see the tasks that are currently outstanding for that person. So that gives you a chance to see in one glance what everything is. And I think what Dave was leading to too, is that that's the power of a CRM. It allows you to see this one source of truth. The one system to rule them all will be your CRM, because it talks to everything else, and it's the one source of truth about a particular client. So the email tracking then feeds into other different notification systems within your CRM. So most of these CRMs are allowed you to have some kind of activity stream that lets you read through what's going on right now, or an activity stream for your particular client or contact. So you can see what's been going on with them. At a quick glance, go in, you can see all the last several things that have been going on with them. If someone's had a phone conversation, if you get a call from a client saying, I was talking to Jack last week and he told me, and then I go in there and I can see, yes, there was definitely a contact with Jack. And the notes here, he said to me that he actually did approve that for you. So yeah, thank you for letting me know. I've got that confirmed. We'll go ahead and do that for you. Now, the way that this looks in HubSpot particularly is, well, I'll look at the call recording first, because this to me is probably the one thing that I've been able to translate a lot of my stuff across to. I use a voice over IP system through my business that allows me to then record in the calls that I'm making. Now, quite often when you've got like a VA, for instance, a virtual assistant may be working with you, and they have a certain translation of what they believe that they heard and they noted down. And then the customer has their particular translation of what they thought they said, and they were able to then put down in notes, and then you hear the actual conversation. You can hear, okay, I can see why they both misunderstood each other and read this a different way. It's just another reference you can have. So I like to use it because my VA is her first language is not English. So sometimes there are Australianisms that do, she lives in Australia, but she has Australianisms that she sometimes misses out on that I may need to work with. And let's face it, we've all got a few crusty, salty clients who they tend to clam up the minute they hear an accent that's not what they think Australian should be. So in some cases, it's really good to be able to go back and recall those moments. And I do say to my VA that if she is speaking to a client, to always record it just for her own protection, because obviously I would hate to have to, have to go back and say, I think you definitely got this wrong. It gives her a bit of backup, gives me backup. And of course, for the client, gives them something that they know that there's always a recording going on. We tell them there's a recording just so we do that. Say, just in case we miss something, we just want to record it so we get everything the way that you communicated it with. It helped us to avoid a lot of fights. An activity feed, it's kind of like Facebook. Think about Facebook. It's a feed of what's going on in your world, or what's going on in the circle of friends, or a feed through, say, LinkedIn is letting you know what's happening within your professional network. Likewise, just about all these products will have some kind of activity feed that lets you, as the business owner, who you might have people working for you, you can see what's going on in the business. So it says, Julia booked a project meeting with Julia, or Julia viewed a document, which might be a content offer. It tells you what's been going on in a certain time frame. So you might want to look at all the activities, just your activities, just a particular employee's activities, or you may want to instead go and look at things within a certain date range or certain types of activities. Or you can do a search just like Google and just search it down to, I'm looking for anything to do with the content offer document. And then you'll be able to see all the different parties that have viewed that document or had something to do with it. Likewise, each one of your clients and contacts is going to have their own feed as well. So L. Edwards here at hubspot.com, they have a particular track of what emails have gone in. So they've opened an email. They opened it on the 5th of April at 3:10. They opened another one at 29th of March at 9:27. So you can see the record of them opening and answering those. Now, this is particularly handy because how many times have we come across a client and said, oh, I didn't get that quote. Oh, I didn't get that email.
Never, mate. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no idea what you're talking about. I said, oh, we're pretty sure you actually got that. Look, I'll send it again for you just in case. And that's when you may not, it's not probably great protocol to go to your client and say, you're a lying a-hole, I hate you, you're horrible because you lie. It's more of a case of you now know that your client's a bit of a white lie teller, so you know to bear that in mind later on. You don't have to like put that in your notes about them, but you know yourself that they might be a little bit of a white liar, so they may need to you might need to tread a bit more carefully and take a few more notes next time. And that's what a CRM's all about. It's about keeping very consistent, thorough notes. If you're sitting, I work on another government program, which is horrible because you cannot be on the call and type in your stuff at the same time because the system doesn't allow it. You have to wait until it's over and then it times in the ability for you to type it. Whereas in a CRM, the way it's best used, you're on the call, you're on the go, you're doing what you're doing with the client, having the conversation, you type the details in as it's happening so you don't get a big, huge admin backlog at the end. And I know all of these systems will allow you to do that either on a mobile app or on the web as well. And finally, before I go, I'll just mention about problem ticketing. This is where I know a lot of these systems also allow you to report problems or clients to report problems through to you as well. So that then becomes part of their contact feed. So you can see at a glance when they had problems, when they were resolved, or if they've been resolved at all. And the particular problem ticketing interface with Hubspot is kind of like Trello. It's like a new ticket, you're working on it, or you're waiting on someone to do something, or it's closed. So in a very quick way, you can see what's new, what needs to be actioned. And if you've got a particular person that works with you that does this, they might be sitting in this all day, just updating notes as they're going on. So each one of these little tickets or little cards that's on this board is able to have a lot more items like priorities. It will tell you whether it's been open and being worked on for quite a long time, such you see a couple of there, 7 days, 20 days, 2 months. So you can see what things are dragging on and really do need some attention given to them. So that, I guess, is mostly about what you would look with a ticket. You either create it, a client can create it through a form and it populates straight into HubSpot, or you can create it while you're on the phone or an email to them from HubSpot itself. So that you're able to give different kinds of problems, different kinds of priorities and categories that they may fit into, because that might be, what works for your particular business and your organization. That's it for today for me. So it's an idea of looking, I guess, at the intermediate is looking at those more in-depth things you can do with the systems. Once you've got signed up, you've got it installed, and you've got your clients in there, then it's time to start working with them.
Yep. Thank you very much. We have a few questions. Kim has been prolific. She's a very inquisitive, a very inquisitive person, which is great. So let's just run through these. I'll read them out. Well, this is the first couple are for David. Customer support option in Keep, like ticketing. Does it have a similar system to the one we just saw with HubSpot?
It has a customer support function online. So there's also a library there of a whole lot of stuff that you can go searching for. There's videos and so forth. But if that doesn't work, then 9 times out of 10, doesn't work 100% of the time. You can call the guys either in the US or sometimes they run out of Sydney as well, and you can actually do a live chat with them. Basically,
was more asked along the lines of you've got ticketing within HubSpot for your customer, like it's you providing customer support to your customers. Is there a similar thing in Keep where Keep has a ticketing option along with recording pipelines and so on and so forth?
Yeah, well, it has the pipelines, but and you can create effectively any sort of comment or whatever in the system. It doesn't have a help ticketing function by itself, but
right.
it's no different from solving a delivery problem or something else in the system. So you can record it, but it doesn't have a ticket management type arrangement. No.
Okay. And now coming back to Dante. With relation to HubSpot, can you integrate your customized website email, or is it just Gmail and Outlook?
I'm assuming this means someone who's created, say, an email address in cPanel through their web hosting. It does only integrate with Gmail and Outlook. However, if you're running you can run your customized your web server mail through Gmail. It will accept that as an extra email to check. And as long as it can read your email within Gmail, you'll be able to use that side panel of the information, but you won't necessarily be able to. Actually, no, that's a lie. You can actually integrate through SMTP and POP3 email with HubSpot. So yes, you can do that. But I would say that the easiest way to do that, to keep it in a nice, easy to read format rather than having to be in HubSpot itself all the time, is run your cPanel or web service, web hosting email through something like Gmail. So you've got that neat little panel on the side and you can manage it all from there.
Okay, cool. And also, while you've got the microphone on HubSpot, how many audience segments are you allowed on the free version?
I've never hit the limit, so it's amazing that I'm assuming it's quite high. I know that someone was asking for users, so you can have lots of users. There's no limit to users when it comes to HubSpot. With the segments and audiences, I think that's when you're looking at your email marketing stuff. I'd have to look at it for you. I've never hit the limit, so it must be quite a lot.
Yes, substantial, I think, is the answer to that. And in terms of project management systems like Trello or Asana, do any of our systems that we've looked at provide that sort of system? Do we have that ready to go?
Well, I think all of our systems have task management or activity management.
Yeah.
So there is the ability to do that, and they all sort of have a pipeline management activity as well. So you've got status management as well as, activity over time management. So they do have that. Probably not as detailed as Trello or Asana, but you definitely can manage that and keep a project running in the system.
Yeah. Okay. I've always seen that with the ones that I've used is that you've got, it's not quite the power, the complexity that you can have with Trello or Asana, but you can certainly keep an eye on a project that's on the go or a campaign that's on the go. You can certainly map it all the way through without having that in-depth power. In terms of HubSpot, any tips for using HubSpot with subscriptions?
So I just had to find my unmute button there for a second. So I was looking up the answer for that. Now, if you're looking at something like subscriptions, it will also depend on what you're managing your subscriptions through. So if you're running subscriptions, I'd say through something like, I don't know, like a payment system like Square, or maybe through PayPal, or all those systems do have integrations into HubSpot that will allow you to bring in, okay, this person finishes their subscription on this date according to PayPal. Therefore, we need to initiate a contact with that person in the month leading up to that subscription about to fail. So yes, there is a lot of integrations in with subscriptions, but they are driven mostly by the system you're running the subscriptions through. So if you're running it through WooCommerce, for instance, there's subscription plugins for that. WooCommerce has a lot of integrations in with most of these systems. If you're running it through PayPal, Stripe, Square Payments, trying to think of others that do this, Shopify to a lesser degree, but they all do have integrations in there so that whatever that system is saying, it can bring it back into your system. So you've got at least your record of customers and clients who are using those subscriptions, and you can see the record of it, but you're not running the subscription so much from your CRM. You're just reading the information that's coming in from your subscription system.
Yep. Cool. Okay. And you're a popular guy today, Dante. More HubSpot questions. The bug, well, actually, this is purely HubSpot because the others don't have bugs. The bugs you see from time to time, do they affect the customer, or are they really a problem for us, a back-end type problem?
They're definitely a back-end thing. These are things that are mostly tied to things like reporting. So there's a lot of bugs that will pop up when it comes to reporting. And good callback to last week when I actually said one of the cons of HubSpot is because it's been so heavily developed all the time, and it's been around, it's become like I call a Franken system. It's had things bolted onto it here and there, that there are a few things that don't integrate quite as well as they should. It's mostly in reports that you'll see that, and it's also in things like an integration with, say, Shopify, where Shopify have updated something, but they have forgotten to then update their integration into HubSpot. So that's where you'll mostly see the bugs. I'd say 9 out of 10 bugs would not be in reports, but will be in the integrations with third-party things, because the third-party person has updated something and went, oh, God, no, we forgot to do the plugin to Keep, or we forgot to do the plugin to Facebook, or we forgot to do the plugin to Stripe. And that's usually where these problems come down. Hundreds and thousands of integrations, something's going to break at some point.
Cool. All right. Well, that again was wonderful. You guys rock. That was a ton of information. We're almost there. The next one, obviously, same bat time, same bat channel next week. If there's no more questions, I would like to say thank you to our 3 presenters. Thank you to all our attendees for sitting in and learning, and I hope we've added some value to your business. That's really what we're all about. We're about making life better for you, so things are a bit smoother. You're making more money easier. That's the plan. Okay, so having said all that, that's us. That's your lot for the week. Okay, we'll see you next Wednesday, 2 o'clock on the East Coast, and whatever other o'clock wherever you are in Australia, because there's too many time zones. And thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
See ya.